think about your business and the environment that you're operating in, and think about a bank, right? Your business is moving fast. Let me tell you, here's an inconvenient truth. Banks move extremely slow. So already you're starting on, they're starting on second base, you're starting on first base, right? So they're moving extremely slow. Secondly, nobody knows your business better than you do.
Welcome everybody to the next episode of the Mobilization Mindset. My name is Scott Pieper, CEO and founder of Mobilization Funding, and today we are going to talk all about business banking, what you need to do, how you need to think about it, the pieces and information that you can use inside your business, and the facts and data that are applicable to getting banking done, getting traditional banking done, for private lending like us, raising equity, whatever it is that you're looking to do to raise capital, financing, debt, or equity in your business. We are going to talk about that today. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce a special guest to you. And before I do that, I want to make sure if you like what you see here, go to our website, mobilizationfunding.com. You can find access to all of this information, as well as others, and our past episodes. And you can subscribe to the Mobilization Minute, which is our newsletter that comes out, giving you access to all of this information, again, for free, and where you can find it. Now, back to my guest. I have Drew Aldridge. Many of you may know, Drew is the president of Mobilization Funding. We hired Drew about a little over a year ago, and Drew came straight out of the banking world. We're going to let him get into his experience, but let's just say he's got 8 to 9 years of experience in banking, doing exactly what we're going to talk about today. Now, why he's at Mobilization Funding and not banking might be a different story, but we'll get into it. Drew, welcome.
Hey, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to be here, excited to collaborate with all the viewers out there, and certainly, Scott, thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to help grow this thing here at Mobilization Funding. This has been a blast.
It is. Now, as you guys can see, I still haven't rubbed all the banking off of Drew, but I'm going to continue to work on that. But in the meantime, I'm going to let you guys talk to Drew just like I talked to Drew on the side. So I've created a list of questions that I think are the kinds of questions that we hear a lot. You hear a lot now too, from the types of customers that we have, the folks that are just grinding through their construction businesses
every day,
growing to $10 million, $20 million, $30 million and more. And they're getting turned down by banks or others. They don't have the information in the right format. So I've taken a list of those questions, and I'm going to ask Drew, the expert, so you all can hear it. All right, so
awesome.
First,
I'm ready.
Drew, you spent years inside traditional banking before stepping into Mobilization Funding. So from a bank's view, what is it about construction companies that immediately creates tension or hesitation?
Yeah, guys, think about it. Think about your business and the environment that you're operating in, and think about a bank, right? Your business is moving fast. Let me tell you, here's an inconvenient truth. Banks move extremely slow. So already, you're starting on, they're starting on second base, you're starting on first base, right? So they're moving extremely slow. Secondly, nobody knows your business better than you do. And I'm going to tell you one thing, a banker certainly is not going to understand your business as well as you do. And let me tell you a few reasons why. You're moving fast. You're trying to get as many jobs as possible. You're trying to grow your company. Then you send a loan request into a bank. Let me just give you a little tidbit of that environment. You've got some guy, for example, in Tampa, Florida. He's part of a bigger bank. He's got his credit officer that he has to get approved. By the way, then they have to get a second approval up in Charlotte, because that's where the big honchos sit. You have to get approval from a guy who's sitting at a desk up there that doesn't know diddly squat and probably doesn't care about your business. So the way they move is extremely slow. Secondly, how they move, they have a lack of understanding of your business. So when you put those two together, there's an incredible disconnect there, and it makes it much more difficult for a construction company to be successful. And there's a number of other reasons that make it challenging as well. Construction business outside of equipment-heavy construction businesses tend to be asset light, right? Repayment is completely dependent, or a borrowing base on a line of credit is completely dependent on your accounts receivable. They don't understand those accounts receivable as well as you do. So there's a number of reasons there, but we can get into more later.
How do some of the stigmas that we hear a lot about against the construction industry, and we're talking commercial construction industry, but let's remember, a lot of your bankers, they might only have experience with residential construction. So they have to learn the differences between the cash flow cycles of residential construction and commercial construction. If they don't do that, they're going to put all those biases of their own personal experiences on construction. And so how do some of those stigmas play in, just the general stigmas that are about construction and construction businesses or construction performance, play into these bankers' decisions?
Well, the stigma is the construction industry can't generate cash. I mean, that's a huge stigma. And when you're doing larger jobs, that uncertainty increases. I mean, think about it. I mean, community banks, I think, are uniquely positioned to be really useful to construction companies. But if you look at, if you look at larger banks, they're literally manufacturing numbers for the sake of testimony. They're checking a box. Community banks are a lot better about understanding the people, understanding the character, understanding who's the ultimate owner of the project. They want to get in bed and really understand that. That's why I think community banks can be a little bit more beneficial to the construction industry than not. But the way banks generally look at credit deals are literally manufacturing numbers for the sake of testimony and taking key performance indicators like your profit trends, asset trends, and all that, and just it spits out an answer. But the reality is, I know something absolutely for a fact. Construction companies, the owner of construction companies, the folks who work every single day and get really, really dirty building things that really, really matter aren't just a set of numbers. There's a story there. And I think there's a huge disconnect in the story.
I love it. So thinking about risk and touching on that risk, how do they assess quote unquote risk when they're analyzing whether they can do or not want to do or try to do a loan of some kind for a construction business? And maybe you could start with, what do they perceive as risk versus what is risk?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Scott. What do they perceive as risk versus what is risk? As I've mentioned in the prior answers, there's a gap of understanding. So that gap is pretty large. But how do banks look at these construction companies? By the way, you better have been in business for at least 5 years and show 5 years of tax returns. If you don't, forget it. Forget it. I mean, generally. I mean, that's just a fact.
Especially with big banks.
Especially with big banks. Community banks might be able to wrap their arms around that. You better not be growing too fast, because they understand generally at a high level, if you're growing fast, your ARR is growing, which is a use of cash, which means it's going to be harder for them to get paid back. By the way, who are the owners of your projects? Who are the general contractors of your projects? You know, you have days sales outstanding, which is essentially how fast you turn your accounts receivable. Remember, guys, accounts receivable, I want to break this down, and this is a huge fundamental to profit does not equal cash, right? Accounts receivable is work that you have done and you've already incurred the costs of, that you have not been paid for yet. So they will analyze particularly one thing called an accounts receivable aging report. If there's a number next to 91 plus days, axe that off. They're not counting that in your borrowing base. Borrowing base, by the way, guys, is the basis for the amount of money that they will lend you in the form of a line of credit. Remember, you want to match use of funds to the source of funds. Line of credit matched with accounts receivable. If your accounts receivable is 90 days plus overdue, they're not counting that in your borrowing base. That lowers the amount of a line of credit that you can get. But wait a second, I still need that line of credit because I got $1 million in 91 plus. It's a use of cash.
Well, what if all of your profits tied up in retainage? You don't get any credit for that?
No, they don't give you any credit for retainage. Are you kidding me? That's at the end of the project. No, they wouldn't dream of doing that. Of course not. And I'm being a little coy here, but that's just an example of, okay, what if it's retainage with a grade A general contractor that always pays on time, that you've done 5 projects with? Could you make a rationalization? You know, you have, let's say $5 million of accounts receivable and $500,000 of that is retainage, but you know you're going to get paid on that. That's a lack of understanding. Is there an exception? Banks don't make exceptions.
Yeah. Think about it like this then. You're a banker. You've met a great commercial subcontractor. They have been in business for 7 years. They've never had a line of credit before, or they already have a line of credit, but it's small. Maybe it was based off of like their personal credit score, a couple $100,000, something like that. And now they're trying to get some type of lending facility based on the business, whether it be an AR line or some type of asset type line. Could be even SBA loan with a combination.
Yeah,
okay?
it's a great
Same
tool.
questions.
Yeah.
when you were bought in as the banker, okay? What do you have to do next, though, inside the bank? You're the banker, you're bought in, you believe it. Let's talk about what that conversation looks like. So like they've done their job. They've talked to the banker, our commercial subcontractor, the owner, the CFO, their team. They've talked to the banker. They've provided the information. The banker is bought in.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that whole process. It's putting you through the hurt locker, by the way. I'm about to get real with you. So let's take a company. Let's call it Mark Construction. I'm a banker. He comes to me. Mark and I have been friends for a long time, and he says, "Man, I've done $1 million in revenue this past year. I'm going to grow to $2 million. I've got a $100,000 little line of credit that I got approved for like that. But what I really need is about a $400,000 line of credit, right?" Okay, Mark, I appreciate it. Man, I'm a banker. I want to hit my loan goal. Let's go. By the way, Mark, let me ask you a question. You think you're going to bring over any deposits to me? I'd love to have some deposits, right? Which is good. But do you have 3 years of financials? Do you have 3 years of tax returns? What are your year-to-date financials? By the way, give me some agings over the last 6 months, every 3 months. Let me see how that's churned. Balance sheet, income statement. By the way, Mark, are your financials audited? Of course they're not going to be audited. I mean, who has a $2 million company getting audited financials? They're going to be reviewed. Maybe not even reviewed. Maybe they're QuickBooks. Are they QuickBooks? That's automatically going to be challenging. Anyway, we aggregate all this data, right? And then the banker in, say, Tampa, Florida, reviews all that data and says, "I think this is going to be a good deal." The banker's not always the most knowledgeable person on the credit side. There is the banker, and then there's the credit side. What they do is they push all that information to the underwriting team, and then they put it into something we call financial spreads. So remember, now they're boiling you down, which makes sense, boiling you down to a system of financials and KPIs. Then he builds a memo, which can be 5, 6, 7 pages long. By the way, are you guaranteeing the loan? Do you have a house that we could collateralize against? And then the credit team, by God's mercy, says, "Okay, we're ready to move this to committee." And then you've got to explain the story and tell the story of the company and talk about the numbers to a whole credit committee. And then you get approved. And then it's probably a month before you're actually going to close, because then you've got to go through all the due diligence, like know your customer, beneficial ownership, all of that type stuff. So that's really the process right there. But what if you're talking about an $8 million loan?
Well, here, let me stop you for a second. Well, Drew, I love that example. But you know what? I'm Mark, and I'm not a $2 million company. I was 2 years ago when I talked to you, but I took your advice. I hired a CFO. Maybe I started with this contract CFO. I brought him in. I got my financials organized. Yes, I use QuickBooks, but I have my accountant reviewing my financials quarterly. I don't have an audit, but they're reviewing them. But man, I've been calling on these customers for a long time. I finally cracked the code. The reason I'm here is I have a almost $5 million a year business I just finished 2025 with. My work in progress is twice as large as it used to be. I was just given my first $4 million contract. So I'm going to do like $8 million this year. 100% growth.
Yeah.
And so what I really need is I need like a $1 million line, because that's what it takes to finance an $8 million work in progress.
Yeah.
Right? So what is that? Is that better for me or worse for me after everything you just described?
Yeah. Growth scares banks. And I'm not talking about 5, maybe 10% growth a year. I'm talking about growth like that. 30.
But you don't understand. That's only me getting one real contract from the same kind of customers I've already worked with.
Okay, then you bring up a really good point, Scott. Now we're talking about customer concentration.
Oh, wait, I'm supposed to get the bigger contract from a different customer, or the same customers have been working on?
Well, ideally, we'd love to have your revenues and accounts receivable, which is, remember, our collateral, spread across a number of customers. We would really prefer you, Scott, not to have any customer accounting for more than 20% of your accounts receivable. Really 15, but I can maybe get an exception for 20%.
Well, but that would mean I could only work for one customer that up to $800 or $12 or $1 million at a time, like an $8 million business?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, and that's generally. That's not
how it works.
That's right. Remember that gap that I told you about between understanding? And that also goes not just in construction, guys. And listen, I want to stop there for a second. I want to say, banks are one of the most fundamentally important institutions and ideas in this entire economy. I mean, they are. I mean, without obviously, we're kind of cracking jokes and being coy about banks. All I want to do here's the point. I just want to prepare you guys for the pain in general that you will have to go through to get a bank loan, and I want you to prepare you guys so that you have all your stuff in order, so that it can put you in the best position to go crush a meeting with the banker, get something approved, and help you grow your company.
And we are about talking about results.
Yeah.
So Drew and I had fun walking through that scenario because it's the real life scenario. And I have the same scenarios when we're talking to banks for ourselves. We use banks. And Drew's right, banks are important and critical. And this is definitely not a conversation about don't get a bank loan.
Absolutely not.
What this is get the right bank loan, but we are walking you through what it looks like behind the curtain so that you can best understand how to position yourself to allow that banker and that credit person to see you in the best possible light you can for what you're trying to get accomplished. It doesn't mean go find only $800,000 contracts on an $8 million business. It means, yes, take that $4 million job when you get it. And it's great that you have a $4 million business already. Find a smaller line of credit, but then also find great other capital sources that you can use, whether it's your own retained earnings, whether it is leverage on a personal house, whether it's another private lender like Mobilization Funding or a factoring company or a bridge loan lender or who knows, whatever it could be. But understanding how to get to the top of the bank stack first and what you can get that's appropriate before we even start talking about loan covenants and anything else. But get what you can there, build these good relationships, and then continue to grow. That's the critical piece that we're trying to understand.
Yeah, Scott, you hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, business and growing in business is a function of your decisions and a function of the number of options that you have at that point in time, right? And if you could put yourself in a position to make decisions in an environment where you have more options, that's just going to differentiate you against the other guy across the street who's doing the same thing you are.
Exactly. And it's not only frustrating for commercial contractors, but it's frustrating for bankers.
It's incredibly, especially the line, especially at the actual banker.
Right.
Because they have to go through an entire ecosystem of people to get something approved. And that's just the way that, and the reason they're constructed like that in general is primarily because of the regulatory environment, right? They need to make sure they're checking all the boxes, right? So, and primarily due to the fact that they have to maintain their own set of key performance indicators, their own set of reserves. So I don't blame them for it. It's just the way the market is.
So talk about this. We talked at the beginning, like you had extensive experience at larger banks, community banks, but you left. And now you're here at Mobilization Funding. And yes, you have a great title, but that's not the reason why you left the bank. What was frustrating about that to just turn around and work with what the bank thinks to be is the most frustrating customer base for them to try to finance commercial construction, but yet here you are.
Yeah, Scott, I'll tell you, I had the benefit of working at two incredible banks. I worked at a very large bank up in the Northeast, and then worked at a small community bank here in Tampa, and both are absolutely extraordinary institutions. So the reality is, though, you can be kind of floating in your career and say, man, this is cool. I make pretty decent money. I know how to do it. And then you take inventory of your life and you say to yourself, is this where I'm most useful? And the reality is I felt like, and it was no reflection of those institutions. Those institutions are great, but I felt like a lion in a cage. And I said to myself, man, I looked at all these companies I was banking. I said, I want to be one of those guys. I want to be operating a company. I want to be in the arena as far as an operating company. So then I said to myself, I'm going to start exploring opportunities. And God bless, I ran into you, and here we are today.
Yeah. So talk about who's the average client you're helping here now.
The average client we're helping here now is a growth-oriented specialty contractor who says to himself or herself, I'm doing 5, 6 jobs right now, and I'm okay. I can continue to do 5 or 6 jobs. But they have a similar conversation with themselves one night. They go to bed one night, kind of like I did when I was at the bank, and said, am I being the most useful that I can be right now? I want to do 10, 11, 12 jobs. I want to put myself in a position where I can generate enough earnings from these jobs to reinvest in my business and buy more equipment and hire more people. Those are the type of customers that we want. Customers, that are not sort of that customer that needs us to actually complete a job. We want that customer that needs us to complete more jobs. That's who our customer is.
It's funny you bring that up because a lot of the folks listening here today are leaders of construction businesses, owners, founders of construction businesses that don't have a problem with their business now.
No.
They have a problem, how are they going to grow their business?
Exactly.
And maybe they have grown that business, felt that pain, that shake, and all of a sudden experienced some of these issues and now are like just trying to temper back. But yet they still want to let it go. They want to take on that extra $4 million job. They want to take on that next customer. They want to go the third or fourth job with the same customer they already have.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're struggling now. They just don't know how to bring on the right things they need in order to be able to grow. What is it that they should be doing to be able to take advantage of that, my lion coming out of the cage, to use your metaphor, so that you can do those things, but yet not hurt your business?
Yeah, number one, curiosity. I mean, you are a function of the people that you surround yourself with. Once you get more knowledge, you get more clarity. Once you get more clarity, you have more confidence, right? And if you could partner with people like Mobilization Funding or other financing solutions out there, or by the way, guys, it's extremely important to have a strong back office who understands your numbers, who understands what your cash position is. Get your house in order first. And if you have your house in order, now consult your team. What jobs make sense? What do we want to do? What resources do we need to achieve those goals? And then what's the execution plan on how to get there? And growth can be really painful. By the way, a lot of times people are growing their top line, but it's not really growth. It's just getting thrown through the hurt locker.
Right.
You don't want that type of growth.
Yeah, you want growth on the top line that also materializes down the bottom line.
Exactly.
So there's a big difference between survival financing and readiness-based financing, or financing you need to grow versus financing I need because I just got myself through the hurt locker and I'm in a real problem here and I need money to get out of that problem. Walk us through the differences between those two problems and how you should be going about looking for a financial partner for those.
I kind of compare this to going out and to the range with a rifle, right? You don't ready, shoot, then aim. You ready, aim, shoot, right? So survivalist is obviously the ready, shoot, then aim. So when you are looking to grow and you have a number of projects you want to do and you bid on them, you then win them. One starts in January, one starts in February, the second one the second half of February. By the way, you have 3 other projects going on right now. And you put your guys on the job and then you say to yourself, holy smokes, I don't have enough cash to pay for material. I don't have enough cash to pay my guys on the job. Now, there are options out there that you can go get some financing for that. There's certainly, but you're surviving. You're surviving. You're financing your company through debt to a level that probably isn't primed for you to grow. But if you plan, like that resource sort of exercise that I outlined earlier, if you plan those jobs in advance and get all of your ducks in a row to be able to, business is all about results and you only get results through execution.
Right. Well, Drew, I've grown my business from start to where I am now without any financing.
Yeah.
But yet I don't have any real cash in my business. And so what I like to talk about there is many contractors don't realize how much organizational capital gets trapped inside project execution, something you touched on in the very beginning. How does funding labor, materials, subcontractors, and mobilization of projects right out of your pocket tend to quietly just limit a company's ability to grow, but yet they don't realize it?
Yeah, you've been running the company up until now on your own without any financing, so you're essentially bootstrapping. And the only way you're able to do that, if you really aren't retaining much cash in the business, is by stretching out your accounts payable. Remember, accounts payable are what you owe for materials or subcontract labor for a matter. That's no way to run a business either. So let's look at your income, right? You're 6 months in at 2026, you're at $6 million in revenue. you don't have hardly any cash because it's all tied up in accounts receivable. You've paid for all the materials, you paid for your labor on time. All of a sudden you hit a wall. You know you're about to get paid, so you can kind of keep on puttering along and make sure, but you're not generating any cash. Imagine a world where you could free up enough cash to go to your operating account to pay for overhead, which you're already doing barely, but take some of that cash and reinvest it into another piece of machinery, another truck, another project, and do it all on your own. So, for example, Mobilization Funding and other financing solutions out there, I don't think anybody does it exactly. I know they don't do it exactly like we do, but we could literally pay, for example, for all those materials and labor for the first pay cycle or through your first 2 pay apps, freeing up cash from other jobs that you don't have to throw on that project, so you can take that cash and do it on another project.
Yep.
Which, by the way, then opens up your options. Remember the options we talked about earlier? To go out to more financing tools like a bank and say, look what I've been able to do while generating cash and then retaining cash on my balance sheet. It's allowed me to be more selective with the GCs I work with, bid on materials more aggressively, bid on jobs more aggressively.
You talk a lot about certainty, not just capital, like the real outcomes. Why is predictability and clarity such a competitive advantage for construction lenders today? For construction leaders today.
Yeah, because I think the industry does it incredibly poorly. I'm just going to be straight up with you. If you are a construction company that is seeking radical clarity almost consistently, and you have more certainty in outcomes than your competitors, you are going to compete more effectively.
Right.
I mean, that's a fact. So every ounce or every bit of energy you put into understanding your business, understanding what it takes to do everything in your business day to day, that's just naturally putting you in a competitive advantage.
All right, so final part of our episode here.
All right.
The closing mindset question for you, okay? I've been listening to this podcast. I'm 30 minutes in. I've heard lots of good things, lots of nuggets, but I'm thinking, what's one takeaway I could have, all right? So for contractors who want to scale, more crews, bigger projects, stronger infrastructure, and really take advantage of all the things that you've outlined here so far today, what financial disciplines or mindset shifts do they need to have in their mind before growth doesn't become a liability?
Yeah, all right. So there's a financial mindset, and then I'm just going to do a human being mindset. Number one, financial mindset, it's simple. Profit does not equal cash. The faster you understand that, the less hurt and pain you're going to go through. Mm-hmm. Take it from me. Secondly, personal mindset. Move slow before you move fast. If you move slow early, you'll be able to move fast tomorrow. I promise you that.
Yeah, it's great advice.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Well, as I said in the beginning, you can find a lot more of this information on mobilizationfunding.com. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, Mobilization Funding, as well as the ability to sign up for our newsletter, the Mobilization Minute, that will allow you to get access to all this information in one simple email with some tidbits from Drew and I every once in a while too. I hope you all have a great day. Please share the episode, and may God bless you.